There's a gray powder sitting in your fireplace right now that you have been throwing away every winter for your entire life. It costs nothing because it is a byproduct of burning wood. A single bucket of this powder fertilizes your entire garden without a single dollar spent on commercial fertilizer. It kills slugs, aphids, and soil insects on contact without poison. It unclogs drains, neutralizes odors, softens laundry, cleans glass and metal surfaces, and raises acidic soil to perfect growing pH in a single application. It works permanently because it is not a chemical formulation that degrades. It is a mineral compound that does not expire, does not wash away its nutrient content, and does not require reapplication every season. The Mesopotamians built the agricultural surpluses that founded the first cities with it. Roman farmers spread it across every field in the empire and documented the yields in military supply records. Every subsistence farming culture on every continent that burned wood figured out independently that the ash produced crops 3 times larger than untreated soil. Medieval European peasants guarded their fireplace ash the way modern farmers guard their chemical inputs. Japanese rice farmers spread it across paddies for 1,000 years before the first synthetic fertilizer factory opened. Indigenous farming communities across North America, South America, and Africa used it as the primary soil amendment in agricultural systems that fed populations for millennia. Then, the $240 billion synthetic fertilizer industry was born, and the knowledge that free ash from your own fireplace does what their products do had to disappear. They did not suppress it because it failed. They suppressed it because it worked too well. Because a $0 waste product that replaces $300 worth of annual garden and household purchases cannot be allowed to exist inside a revenue model that depends on you buying those products every single year forever. This is the story of wood ash, the compound that built agricultural civilization, that 2,000 years of independent farming observation confirmed as one of the most effective soil amendments ever discovered, and that a $250 billion industry spent 80 years making sure you shovel into a trash bag and carry to the curb every February. If this knowledge matters to you, the subscribe button and the bell are the only way to protect it before this video disappears. If you leave now, you will shovel the next bucket of ash into a trash bag and carry $30 worth of soil amendment to the curb. You will go back to paying $60 for garden fertilizer, $15 for slug killer, $12 for drain cleaner, and $8 for an odor neutralizer. Every single one of those purchases is solving a problem that the powder in your fireplace has been solving since before any of those industries existed. Stay here. Everything is coming. Let me take you back to where this story begins. The year is approximately 8,000 BCE. In the river valleys of Mesopotamia, in the region that modern maps place across Iraq and Syria, early agricultural communities are burning wood to clear land and cook food. The ash that remains after every fire is being spread across planting areas by observation rather than by design. The areas where ash accumulates produce more food than the areas where it does not. This is not a theory. It is a direct observation, so consistent and so immediately rewarding that it requires no scientific framework to understand and no institutional knowledge system to transmit. You burn wood, you spread the ash, the plants grow larger and faster. Every person who ever burned wood next to a garden plot made this observation independently. The chemistry behind what those early farmers observed is now completely understood and has been for over a century. Wood ash is primarily composed of calcium carbonate, potassium carbonate, and magnesium oxide, with trace concentrations of phosphorus, boron, copper, zinc, and manganese. Every one of those compounds is a nutrient that plants require for growth. The calcium raises soil pH by neutralizing acidity, creating this slightly alkaline environment in which the majority of vegetable crops achieve maximum nutrient uptake efficiency. The potassium drives cellular water regulation, root development, and fruit formation. The magnesium sits at the center of every chlorophyll molecule the plant produces. Without adequate magnesium, a plant cannot photosynthesize regardless of how much water and nitrogen are available. A single cup of wood ash spread over 10 square feet of garden soil delivers these nutrients in a form that is immediately water-soluble and immediately available for root uptake. Commercial fertilizers deliver the same compounds through synthetic chemical formulations that are manufactured in industrial facilities, packaged, shipped, and sold at markups that transform 8 cents worth of mineral content into a $60 retail bag. The mineral content does not know whether it came from a factory or a fireplace. By 3000 BCE, Mesopotamian agricultural records inscribed on clay tablets document specific ash application protocols for different soil types and crop varieties. The civilizations that built the first cities, developed the first writing systems, and created the first legal codes were fed by fields fertilized with wood ash. Roman military agronomists wrote detailed field manuals describing ash incorporation into newly cleared farmland as the fastest method for establishing productive soil. Pliny the Elder described wood ash as the single most valuable output of a farm fire and noted that Roman farmers who failed to return ash to their fields were considered poor managers of their land. The practice moved through medieval Europe with the same universality. Every castle, every monastery, every peasant farm in England, France, Germany, and Scandinavia collected ash from cooking fires, forge fires, and heating fires, and returned it to agricultural land. Estate management records from medieval England document ash collection and distribution as a standard administrative function of large agricultural operations. The compound was understood to be valuable enough that it was sometimes traded and taxed. In Japan, rice paddy farmers spread wood ash across flooded fields before planting season for 1,000 years before the first synthetic fertilizer factory opened. Indigenous farming communities in the Amazon basin developed terra preta, dark earth, incorporating char and ash into naturally infertile tropical soil to create agricultural land of extraordinary productivity. Plots of terra preta identified by archaeologists today, after centuries of abandonment, are still more fertile than surrounding untreated soil because the potassium and calcium compounds in ash do not degrade or leach the way synthetic fertilizer compounds do. Every civilization that burned wood and grew food arrived at the same conclusion independently. That is not folklore. That is convergent agronomic observation confirmed across 5,000 years of independent human agricultural practice on every inhabited continent. In 1909, Fritz Haber demonstrated a process for synthesizing nitrogen compounds from atmospheric nitrogen. By 1920, synthetic nitrogen fertilizer was being manufactured commercially. By 1950, the synthetic fertilizer industry had restructured agricultural practice across the developed world around purchased chemical inputs that required annual reapplication and generated continuous revenue. Within 2 generations, the institutional knowledge that had kept ash collection a standard farm management practice simply failed to transfer. By 1980, the average American gardener had no framework for understanding what wood ash was or what it did to soil. The compound had been present in human agricultural practice for 8,000 years. It had been absent from mainstream agricultural knowledge for approximately 30. The synthetic fertilizer industry that displaced it generates $240 billion in annual revenue. The home garden segment of that market, the bags of granular fertilizer sold at hardware stores and garden centers to residential gardeners with backyard plots and container gardens, generates billions more. Every one of those purchases is replacing a function that the ash from a single winter fireplace performs for free. Now, here's exactly what wood ash does at the level of applied chemistry that the fertilizer industry has spent 80 years making sure is never explained clearly in a single place. Wood ash, in contact with water, produces potassium hydroxide and calcium hydroxide in solution. This is not a synthesis. This is a dissolution of compounds already present in the ash. Potassium hydroxide is one of the most effective natural cleaning and degreasing agents known. It is the active compound in traditional soap production and in several industrial drain cleaning formulations. Calcium hydroxide raises solution pH to the range of 11 to 12, which is strongly alkaline. Strongly alkaline solutions dissolve grease, break down organic blockages in drain pipes, neutralize acidic odor compounds, and kill soft-bodied insects through direct contact destruction of their outer cuticle. Every commercial drain cleaner on the hardware store shelf achieves its cleaning action through an alkaline chemical mechanism. The most common active ingredient in major brand drain cleaners is sodium hydroxide, which works through the same alkaline chemistry as wood ash lye, but is manufactured synthetically, packaged in branded plastic bottles, and sold at a retail markup that transforms pennies of manufacturing cost into a $12 to $20 retail product. A cup of wood ash dissolved in a quart of hot water and poured down a blocked kitchen drain performs the same chemical function as that $50 bottle. The alkaline solution dissolves the grease and organic material, causing the blockage through the identical mechanism. The only difference is the source of the alkaline compound and the margin that difference creates for the manufacturer. Here is exactly what to do. And the breadth of what this free material accomplishes will reframe every ash bucket you have carried to the trash for the last 20 years. For garden soil amendment, apply wood ash at a rate of approximately 20 pounds per 1,000 square feet of garden bed once per year in early spring before planting. Work it lightly into the top few inches of soil with a rake. Do not apply wood ash to soil where you are growing blueberries, azaleas, rhododendrons, or other acid-loving plants. These plants require acidic soil, and the pH-raising effect of wood ash will damage them. For vegetable gardens, fruit trees, lawns, and most ornamental plantings, annual wood ash application eliminates the need for commercial lime and significantly reduces or eliminates the need for commercial potassium fertilizer. For slug and soft-bodied insect control, create a dry barrier line of wood ash around the perimeter of plant beds you want to protect. Slugs, snails, and soft-bodied crawling insects will not cross a dry ash barrier because the alkaline compounds in the ash desiccate their outer mucus layer on contact. The barrier requires reapplication after rain because water dissolves the alkaline compounds and reduces its effectiveness. A single fireplace season produces more ash than most residential gardens will use in a full growing season. For drain cleaning, Dissolve 1 cup of wood ash in 1 quart of boiling water. Stir thoroughly and allow to settle for 5 minutes. Pour the clarified liquid slowly down the blocked drain. Follow with an additional quart of boiling water after 10 minutes. The alkaline solution breaks down the grease and soap scum deposits, causing the majority of kitchen and bathroom drain blockages through the same chemistry as commercial drain cleaners at zero material cost. For laundry, add a 1/4 cup of dry wood ash directly to a wash load of heavily soiled work clothing or outdoor gear. The alkaline compounds act as a natural water softener, increasing the cleaning effectiveness of detergent in hard water conditions, and help break down the biological and grease compounds that standard detergent alone cannot fully address. For odor neutralization, place an open container of dry wood ash in a refrigerator, a root cellar, a camping cooler, a vehicle interior, or any enclosed space with persistent odor. The ash absorbs volatile odor compounds through a combination of surface adsorption and alkaline neutralization of acidic odor molecules. The mechanism is functionally similar to what commercial baking soda odor absorbers do, but the material cost is zero. For metal and glass cleaning, make a paste of wood ash and water and apply it to tarnished metal surfaces, glass cooktops, or fireplace glass with a damp cloth. The mild abrasive quality of the ash particles combined with the alkaline compound chemistry cleans oxidation and carbon deposits from metal and glass surfaces without scratching. This is the identical mechanism used in commercial fireplace glass cleaners that retail for $8 to $12 per bottle. 1 winter of normal fireplace or wood stove use produces between 20 and 40 pounds of ash, depending on burning frequency. That quantity covers a 500 square foot garden bed for a full growing season, eliminates slug pressure across an entire residential garden perimeter, cleans every drain in the house multiple times over, and supplies odor control and cleaning paste applications for 12 months. The commercial products performing those same functions cost the average household between $200 and $350 per year. A homesteader in rural Vermont documented online that she had stopped purchasing commercial garden fertilizer, slug bait, drain cleaner, and fireplace glass cleaner entirely after calculating that her wood stove produced more than enough ash to replace all 4 products with material she had been putting in the trash. Her garden yield in the first full ash-amended season increased measurably across every vegetable variety she tracked. Her drain maintenance cost for the year was zero. She described the experience of realizing what she had been throwing away as one of the more uncomfortable moments of clarity she had experienced as a homeowner. That discomfort is the appropriate response to understanding what the fertilizer and cleaning industries spent 80 years engineering you not to know. The Mesopotamians who spread ash across their fields 8,000 years ago were not practicing primitive agriculture. They were practicing chemistry that the modern synthetic fertilizer industry has spent $250 billion per year constructing an institutional replacement for. The Roman agronomists, who wrote operational manuals describing ash application protocols for feeding legions, were not operating on folk wisdom. They were applying 2,000 years of accumulated empirical observation about what compounds make plants grow. The ash in your fireplace is the same compound. The potassium carbonate does not know it came from your living room and not from a Roman garrison. The calcium does not know it came from an oak log and not from a factory in Germany. The chemistry is identical. The price difference between that chemistry delivered in a plastic bag from a garden center and the chemistry sitting in your ash pan is the entire architecture of the modern agricultural input industry. They did not make you forget this because it was dangerous. They made you forget it because it was free. And free is the one thing a $240 billion industry cannot survive. If this vault opens something for you today, subscribe and share this video immediately. Every share puts this knowledge in front of someone who will carry another bucket of ash to the trash next weekend without understanding what they are throwing away. Every subscription keeps this channel digging in the vaults they spent decades building walls around. The next vault opens soon, and what is buried inside is the one water purification method that every government emergency preparedness agency knows works, that costs under $2 to implement, and that the $50 billion water filtration industry has spent 40 years making sure never appears in a single survival guide they did not write themselves.